today we are talking about women, racism, how to not revolutionize society, but actually take it to a whole nother evolutionary level. And we've got the extraordinary Maxi McNaughty with us. So Maxi, tell us who you are.
Okay, well, I invented Maxi McNaughty to be the loving face of and warrior for the goddess.
Love it.
You
Beautiful.
know, that's my idea. So, what does that mean? That means that I actively promote planetary change through personal practices.
Fantastic. Yes.
I make all natural self and home care products based in essential oils. I've been working with essential oils for like 30 and more years. I call myself a devoted liberationist,
Yes.
using all my skills to move people towards the best versions of themselves to enable the creation of a humanistic world.
I love it. And I look so forward to interviewing you with all your life wisdom, your life skill, and just your new way of understanding who we are as women, a newer way of understanding who we are beyond our race, beyond our gender, beyond our sexuality. And I look forward to having a very beautiful talk with you. So yeah, let's do it.
Me too. Can't wait. What I wanted to say was, I'm sorry about the background, that, they talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm against that term and have been from the outset, because it's about whether you do something because you want to look for a solution, or whether you do something because in Dutch they say, you will je ei kwijt. So that means you want to get rid of your egg. So you know how chickens are when they need to lay an egg. Yeah. So if when they said Black Lives Matter, they must have known that the response would be white lives matter and all lives matter. Because what they're actually dealing with is the fact that Black lives don't matter. So if they've called the movement that, yes, then they would have opened the discussion, right? You cannot open a discussion by accusing and blaming. And that's what the BLM does. So I loathe that term. I am not a part of Black Lives Matter, not because I don't think they do, but because I think that the onus is on us to find ways to describe what we need in a way that allows you to facilitate us.
Exactly.
Because that's what we need to move forward. Black people need white people to facilitate that. And you won't get it by attacking the people that you want help from.
Yeah, completely agree.
So just my whole thing is, it's like, no, badness, fuck the Black Lives Matter. That's not what it's about. The issue is the Black lives don't matter. That's what we're seeing. That's what we need to talk about.
Yes. So the new way of actually working through this whole issue is able to come to the forefront and just pick it and talk about it, and where does it work, does it not work, how can what are we doing that we think we're doing right, but actually we're not doing right? Do you know, like
exactly that? Right? So if I say Black lives don't matter, Black lives don't matter, right? You're not going to say white lives don't matter either.
Yeah.
And even if you do, then I'm going, okay, cool, join my struggle.
Yeah, exactly. Got it.
As a person who's going blind, it is my responsibility to teach sighted people how to treat me.
Yeah.
And that, when she said that, I was like, wow. And obviously as a Black person, there's a bit of me that goes, I don't want to be teaching white people all the time. But it's like, if I don't teach them, who's teaching them?
Exactly.
And it's about, and that's that whole thing with everything that we said. When you hold your pain, when you can hold your pain and own your truth, I'm a racist because I choose to be a racist because the alternative is too scary for me. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means you're an honest person. You have you've just opened the door for the possibility of change.
Absolutely.
This whole race thing is so important because so what I said on Sunday, it was really, I've been so chuffed with myself having a conversation. I'm at a friend's birthday party. She has a mixed heritage child. So my personal opinion, and I don't think it's just mine, is that, white mothers are the bane of the Black liberation movement.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Full on, huh?
Yeah.
But, so, I'm talking to a couple of women, and one of them saying, but, is expressing her pain about racism. So, like when we spoke yesterday, I said to you, the starting point and the most important place we need to come to is where you can just say, I'm a racist.
Yeah.
Because to think you're not a racist is to blind yourself to the realities of the system that we're brought up in.
Absolutely.
So it's, and here, especially in the Netherlands, people think if you say that somebody is a racist, you're saying they're an evil person.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that we're having so many problems moving through this is, one, because it's essential for the kind of the system, the way that it is, for the patriarchy, for colonialism, for capitalism, to keep on functioning. They have to divide and conquer, and they especially have to divide women from each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the key. As long as we as women do not prioritize ourselves as sisters, to actually really focus and learn how to hear each other and accept that, we're never moving forward. And if we don't move forward as a group, none of us are moving forward. So we're talking, the whole notion of white fragility, blah, 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 blah. So what I realized was, I said, the problem with so when we say, let's talk about racism, white people here, let us talk about racism. Let us, yes? And that means you say what you say your experience, or I do, and then afterwards you get to speak.
Yeah.
But when Black people say, let's talk about racism, what they mean is, we want to talk about it, and you just have to listen.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? You have to hear it. You have to believe us, and you just have to absorb it.
Beautiful.
Right? Or as my family would say, just suck it up.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But the difficulty is, what I realized on Sunday is that what Black people describe when they describe their experiences of racism is how every woman really feels every day. It's how every man feels most days. I'm not seen. I'm not valued. I cannot be here. I cannot be myself. Only when I fit some kind of something, people, and no matter how hard I try, I never fit that. So every time a Black person describes their experience of racism, a white person hears, yeah, but I go through that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that too. Yeah, I feel like that too. Why does feeling like that make you special?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, keep going.
Okay. So, it's like people say, so this woman said to me, but I feel Black inside too, and that was where our conversation started. Right. So when you say you feel Black inside, do you mean that's a good feeling, or do you mean that's a bad feeling? Because if you're saying you feel Black inside and that's some amazing, really wonderful feeling, then you're not feeling Black inside.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right? And if you're feeling Black inside because you feel so fucking horrible, right? Then actually what you're saying is, what about my pain?
Yeah.
I need my pain also to be seen. Why do I have to focus on your pain when my pain is never seen?
Yes.
Yeah. So then in line with that, so that's Sunday, and then Friday I get an email from the daughter of a white friend of mine who's also mixed race, who I have spent her whole life pursuing. Like, I want you in my life, actually for my daughter. Well, you know, and her mother has been amazing. We've gone through lots and lots of problems. She doesn't agree with anything I said anyway. So this young woman phoned me up and said, I don't know what to do. I've suddenly realized that my skin is black. I am seen as black. I have black experiences, but my experiences as a black woman are completely different to my sister's experiences as a black woman. And I don't think I have any black experiences. I don't really know any black people, you know. So she's being seen, you know. It's like this struggle that she has within her of, I want to be black, but I don't want to be black. I am seen as black, but actually I'm not black.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, and then the whole discussion about privilege. What is that? You know, I and my sister, I find it much easier to say I have great privilege than any white person I've ever met. Because I can see really clearly the choices that I have, the things that I can do, the education that I got as a British person, the access that I had to move from being working class and poor into being educated and moving out of that. You know, when was the last time that black women en masse, when was the last time women en masse had access to that?
Exactly. I mean, the last 100 years, last 100.
Not even, not even. You know, it's like, you know, I'm quite old, so I can remember that part of the, you know, I grew up when Britain was pretty much a socialist state. When I went to school, I was told you will never have to pay for any of your medical care.
Mm-hmm.
You can educate yourself to any level you like, and you will never have to pay for it. You will always have a house. Your rent will always be paid. You will always have heating. There will always be food for you to eat somewhere.
Yeah.
By the time I was 10, that pretty much it all gone.
Yes, it's life changing.
All gone. And when I say that to people, what they say is, yeah, but you know, it's impossible to sustain that. You know, that's just not possible to do. And it's like, well, it is. It is. It's not that difficult. You know, there's only one reason why 8,000 children die a day in Africa. That's because all the food is taken out of the continent and brought here. And we think it's our right to go to the supermarket and be able to choose, you know, from 6 different types of eggs.
Exactly, different countries that are perfect, and yeah.
Yeah, you know, so as soon as, you know, it's huge. It's huge. It's so big and it's all interlinked. Yeah. So, you know, like, yeah, you can, if you want to address your racism as a woman, look first at all the places where you hate yourself. Right? So all the places where you struggle with yourself as a woman, you will be struggling with other women. Yeah, anything you're not getting, anything you can't give yourself, it's just, it is human nature. There's a bit of us, however much we try, that just resents anybody that has it. You know, it's just like, it's a pain, right? You know, and we are not good at holding our pain.
No. I mean, it happens in many that we suppress it, we turn to addiction to deal with our pain, we go into anger, violence, we take it out on other people, we get it twisted in our own mind, but then we see other people and they don't see our pain, we then hate them because they're not being understanding of us. Yeah, pain's a really, really big thing. You know, when you say, I feel like crying now. It's funny because I woke up this morning and I remember, because I'm Australian, and in Australia we had the I'm sorry, said to all the Aboriginals, I'm sorry. And I was like, you know what? And then I remember is it what is it? A Honopono.
Oh, I didn't go with that. I know what you mean.
I was like, that's it. It's like, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Do you know? And that's what helps the pain move. I love you. Sorry, I forgive you. Please forgive me.
Yeah, but you're talking, but you begin with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, before you can genuinely say that to anybody else, you have to feel it for yourself. I am sorry for all the times I've hurt myself, for all the times I've denied myself, for all the things I've done that weren't really, truly good for myself. I forgive myself for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I love myself,
Yeah.
you know, for my journey.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it really,
Yeah.
you know what, I realize it's like, then we have compassion for ourselves. And then once that compassion for the self clicks into place, we can have more compassion for other people.
Exactly. Exactly. You know,
that's
you
beautiful.
can't do anything with racism by being anti-racist.
Yeah. Just straight away, you're like, well, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm
Yeah.
put the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. So then even if you just go in terms of, you know, the subconscious never hears negatives. Right? You know, so all you do when you say I'm not a racist is you tell your subconscious that you have to be one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, so you know, what is racism? What is racism? Racism is the notion that we can define each other by the color of our skin. Racism is the notion that the color of our skin is anything other than a pigmentation.
And it's,
You know, and it's not just the color of our skin, it's the shape of our hair follicles. You know, that it's the good hair, the bad hair. It's, you know, yeah, it's ultimately the notion of hierarchy. Some things are intrinsically better than others. And if you believe that in any way, shape, or form, you know, excuse my French, you fucked yourself.
yeah. Yeah.
And you know, and you know, and I use the term fuck because I think there's a huge difference between entering into the sexual act as a means of making love, or as I say, or as celebration, and fucking, which is what most people do.
It's the right word to use.
Yeah. And when you fuck the planet. When you fuck, that is the energy that you send into the world. You know, and our spaces of pleasure are the most important things for changing the vibration of the planet. When we can move to a space where no women are being or want to be fucked, and only then can we actually energetically rise.
Yeah, my God, I hear you right there. I making her understand how sacred her own sexuality is so important.
Yes, yes. I mean, I know I see that's your work, and that is exactly what it's about. I feel like in lots of ways we kind of work a bit in tandem. You know, I'm massively anti the beauty imperative. You know, I deny that it is an intrinsic part of women to want to feel beautiful. I don't deny that it's an intrinsic part of some humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the focus on that being a woman's function, I think, is part of that patriarchal trap.
Completely. And then you lower yourself. You think that you can't. This is the only way I can get success is through my beauty.
Yes. Yes.
If I let someone fuck me, the only way I can get success if I deny who I am. The only way I can get success is if I fit into another system. Yeah, completely. And it was, being authentic back to the self as well.
Yeah, you know, so still my exercise every day, you know, so I had this whole thing, you know, like it's not, I don't think it's dysmorphia, you know, it's worse. You kind of look at your body and I just want it to be different, you know. So I had a conversation with the universe. It was really funny, and I'm like, it's not fair that you gave me this body. Right? It's not fair. There's nothing I can do with this. I am judged by my body. Women say I'm scary before I've said anything. You know, men refuse to accept me as being female because, like, why did you give me this body? It's not fair, you know? And the universe said to me, but that was the body everybody wanted. I mean, that's the most celebrated body. That's the most celebrated body on the planet. I went, that was 3,000 years ago.
universe is in its time, like infinite universe.
Right? And the universe is like, time is meaningless to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have the body of the goddess.
Yeah.
You know? And I was a bit like, thank you. You know, so I really, I say to myself, you know, I sing, you know, my body is the body of the goddess, you know? And I wrote a poem. I send it to you afterwards, you know, about, you know, I fell in love with my body today, you know, and I dedicate it to all the women who can't walk past a mirror and have done nothing to themselves and go, "Ooh, hello, looking good," because that's where you want to get to. That's where we all need to get to, and not because we're beautiful, but because our bodies are strong, and because they carry us, and because they attune us to the planet. You know?
For the soul, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you feel about Black women, Black people, how and they're feeling trapped in, I guess, the white racist infrastructure?
Let's just call it the norms. You know, we live in a world where the white male is the norm. Right? We live in a world where the vast majority of white people are unaware of the fact that they are a tiny minority of the group as a whole, you know, and the ones who are aware of it feel that that makes them intrinsically at risk or in danger. You know? We're going to disappear. You know, we're recessive. We need to keep the race pure. But we actually know that race doesn't exist.
Exactly. And the more time goes on, the more of a melting pot it becomes.
Also, but even within, so if I take, like, say, you know, people in my family, you know, there's people in my family who've been in England for hundreds of years, stayed there afterwards, you know, and have become very, very light skinned. Yeah. But if you look at your average, all the Palestinians that I met, and I see the same thing reflected in my family, you know, I've been in families, and Brazilians particularly, you'll go into a family, there'll be 4 children, and they'll all look completely different. One will be white, one will be black, 2 will be something in between, but not necessarily looking like each other.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
Exactly. So, you know, this notion. So what is culture then? You know, so then it comes down to culture. We want to hold on to our culture, but culture's constantly shifting and changing. Always has been, always will be. You know, Black. So your question was, I didn't answer your question. Sorry. I feel the pain of my people. You know, every time I look at the women who are presented to me, I look at what I call Black denial hairstyles.
Is that like with long black flowy hair kind of thing? Yeah.
I'm like, you know, hair is issue. You know, all white women are told that your hair is your crowning glory. You know, it is so sexualized, but at the same time denied. So you can have hair on your head, but you can't have any on your legs. You can't have any under your arms. Can't have any on your chin. Can't, you know what I mean? Can't have any on your lip, right? But your hair's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have all of these Black women striving for a beauty ideal, you know, and then the other one is, which I have with my girlfriends, the bra imperative. You know, like boobs also have been so completely sexualized. Everybody loves a gorgeous pair of boobs. We know it, right? Very few people have them. It's probably why we like them so much.
My gorgeous pair of boobs left a long time ago.
You know, but you know, so I met a woman, and she came over. She said she wanted to talk to me about my boobs. So, like, when I was in America, women would come up to me all the time and like slip me a card with the name of their plastic surgeon on it, especially Black women. You know, kept on trying to encourage me to have a breast reduction, breast reshaping, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was told I could have one on the National Health Service from when I was 12.
Wow.
You know, right? You don't have to walk around like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? You know, so like 3 times I've been and I've started the process for getting my boobs done, but the way they spoke in the hospitals, that, you know, like they call you, if your nipples point downwards, they call it ptosis.
Oh, wow.
Right? Ptosis. I'm like, fuck off, you made that up. You made that up just to make me feel bad. So I'd start that process, and then the whole structure around it would piss me off so much. I'm not doing this to myself. I cannot put myself in the hands of these people who have such clear contempt for my body. Right? But that same contempt is what they have for every single woman's body, because the norm is a white male body. Yeah. Right? You know, there's more women than there are white men. There's more white women than there are white men, right? So that's the norm. So everything that's done medically is based on that framework. So it's never going to work for any of us. If you've been for a mammogram, you know it was invented by a fucking man.
I've heard it hurts like hell.
Well, I did it once, you know, and I was like, you know, halfway through, I was like, you need to stop now. I'm going, never call me again. Right? You know, yeah, I heard some women say yes, some women say no, but only a man would think that by pressing a woman's breasts, you're going to find some way to protect her. Right? That's not how they test for testicular cancer, is it? Do you know what I mean? They haven't invented a little pressy thing to put men's balls in to check them for cancer, have they? You know? And then interestingly, when I was reading books, and I might be going off the point, so pull me back in. But interesting, like it's like you get your breast pressed, but that was actually one of the tortures that the white South African police used against African women in the apartheid state. They would make them put their breasts into drawers and slam the drawers on their breasts. You know, it's like all the time, it's this double thing, you know? And the bottom line is that we live in a world where to allow men to have total connection with the mother of their children, we deny women the space to raise their children in communities of women. Yeah. Right? Because anybody who's had a child, any woman who's had a child knows that what would work is other women around you going through the same thing, or who've been through the same thing, or who know what's going on, you know? And that's not allowed, and you're wrong for thinking it, and there's something wrong with you if that's what you yearn for in this society. And if you try to create it, that's not allowed. Yeah. You know? And, you know, I had the conversation last week with one of my best friends, Jamie, you know, and I'm like, Jamie, your relationship sucks, man, right? And he's going, yeah, but I've got 2 really beautiful children. I said, it's true. He said, my partner's really good. I said, it's true, but you 2 just argue all the time. It's not good. He said, but when the 4 of us are together, it's the best thing in the world. I went, and that's the problem with the patriarchy and the nuclear family. His whole little face kind of dropped, you know? So that feeling, that's the core of everything that's wrong in our society. And that's so painful.
Yeah.
You know? So basically, we can make men, individual men, happy, or we can make groups of women happy. But we can't actually have both.
Yeah.
You know? And the nuclear family makes as many men utterly miserable as it does divinely happy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work for them either. You know? So for the sake of those few, right, Everybody else is miserable. The nuclear family never works for children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes the universe to raise a child.
With lots of people in it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so many more ideas, so many more, yeah, perspectives, so many more awarenesses. Yeah.
yeah. It's a, you know, I do believe that this is a time of potential.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think there is the potential for change, but I don't see any real attempts to set that change in motion.
So what would you see as the potential, and like what would you say would be like just even 3 or 4 things that any person can do on a daily basis to help reach that potential? Do you know?
First of all, women prioritize women, right? So I say there you have 3 types of sisters. You have your blood sisters, or the ones you're raised with, the people that you grow up with, who are your connection to your history. Then you have the sisters that you choose. There are the women that you meet through the life that you connect with, that, you know what I mean? And you have your other sisters, which are the women that you don't know and don't like. But your sisters always come before a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And unless your sisters come before a man, then you're in danger of those few really super dodgy ones. You know, like, so I think the first thing that we have to do is to teach every girl to create a tribe of other women, and to create uh, like lots of time and space with no men.
Yeah.
And then the most important is choose your men. Don't allow yourself to be chosen.
Beautiful. 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 So
You know, I think if we really want to change the world, those are the 3 most important things, you know. And that's, you know, over all the years and all the conversations that I have. And I, you know, even though I am a radical feminist, I have, you know, I was a separatist for about 2 or 3 years, but I stopped because that gave me the space and time to realize that, one, being a separatist made me scared of men in general. You know, so I lived in a community where we didn't see men, didn't do anything with men, didn't interact with men at all, went everywhere by taxi, were driven by women, you know, in London. It was really cool. It might not have been 2 years, it might have been you know, but anyway, the bottom line is that I also in that time, I realized I really like men. I'm really missing my men friends. So, you know, so I stopped doing it. But since then, the spaces where there are no spaces where you can just go and be with only women. And the ones who have the most problem with it are other women.
yeah,
So when you talk,
we don't know how to do it. It hasn't been what we've been
because
doing.
we don't practice. We don't practice. It's, you know, so, you know, every man I have ever spoken to, gay or straight, so much of his life and energy is busy trying to make some woman happy. His mum, his sisters, his mates, his girlfriends, his lovers. Do you know what I mean? That all they are busy with is trying to find some way to make some woman or women happy. You talk to women, they don't know what makes them happy. They don't know what they want. They don't know how they want it. They don't know.
It's that.
Right? So you've got men who feel like they're on a treadmill, that they're like a mouse in a cage being played. It's not deliberate, you know? And when you talk to women about spending time with women, they're all like, oh, women are such a pain in the ass. Yeah, yeah, we are.
Whining.
You know? Yeah. Demanding, difficult, inconsistent. Yes. Right? But when you hang out with only women, it's actually okay to be all these things. Right?
Beautiful sharing and exchange takes place, and I'll do this. You do that for me. the community aspect starts to develop quite quickly with women.
Yes. And also just that thing about giving each other space. It's really easy. You know, she's pissing me off. I'm just going to go and talk to somebody else. You know, and then to realize that actually so often the women who you dislike the most are the ones that you learn the most from.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
And it doesn't mean that you get to like them.
But you learn.
Yes. Yeah. And you put one man into that dynamic and it's not there anymore.
Shifts and changes.
Yeah. You know, because why would you bother to make the effort when there's a man? Because they're easier. They are. They're amazing, simple, really quite loving creatures in general.
Predictable.
Yeah. You know, and they do as they're told.
Yeah.
You know, and they're happy to, you know, so it's like, this is the one that made me really unpopular. So I had like, the white mothers of black children are the bane of the black liberation movement, and the mothers of sons are the bane of the women's liberation movement. Because every woman you've ever met has had an unpleasant sexual experience. Yeah. Whether she chose the man initially or not, every single woman has been in a space where she felt unable to say no to a man for something. Doesn't matter what. And, you know, so every woman has had some man just cross her boundaries in a way that really made her feel invaded. But have you ever met a mother who said her son was a rapist and she was like gut wrenched and she didn't know what to do because she had a really bad son? It was a question.
Oh, a question?
Yeah, have you?
Have I ever had a mother who had a son as a rapist?
Well, who says, you know, I'm worried about my son. I think he's, you know, there's something wrong with him. He's not good. He's not nice to women. I don't like the way that he is with women. You know what I mean?
No, I haven't actually.
I have seen one program on Dr. Phil 20 years ago with a woman who went to him and said, I think my son's a sexual predator. One.
Yeah.
You know? I heard one interview with one young boy who said, I need help because I'm a pedophile and I don't want to be. Help him. Right? He went to a therapist. The therapist told his mum. You know, there was nobody to help him look at it.
Yeah. And that's so important. It's to be able to put your hand up and say, hey, I know I'm out of alignment here. I know there's something that's not right. I need help.
It's important that the mother is prepared to do that. Yeah. Because men are much less likely to know that something's out of alignment. That's not their thing. That's not where they're busy. Yeah. But if you tell me as a mother that you don't know, then you're in the wrong. Like the raising of sons in this society is the mother's responsibility. And the bottom line is, if you can't choose a good man, you can't raise one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And if you don't have any good men friends, you cannot raise a male child. Who is, well, of course you can, but he's not going to be of any benefit to any woman anywhere. Right? Because we do what we know. You do what you know. And when you know better, you have the chance to do better.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
But you can't if you're not prepared to hold your pain. So I'll come back to the point.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? If there's something wrong with your son, and there's something wrong with most of our sons, right? And it's not us, it's not them, it's this world, it's this society. And unless you're challenging that in some way, and women won't because they don't want to hurt their sons.
Yeah, and it's so easy to deny or sweep it under the carpet because nothing's a problem then if you don't bring it up, you know?
Yeah. He's so vulnerable. He's so sensitive. He's so this. He's so that. And I'm not saying that they're not. Men are super sensitive. You know? But they're never given any space for that. So women become the receptacles and the conduits and responsible for doing the emotions of their men. But when you see so many women who are with me and they want a prince, I want a prince, right? My husband's not a prince. The father of my children is not a prince. So I want my son to be the knight in shining armor that I was looking for. Well, what the knights and princes do, they walk around, they ride around, like murdering people, cutting them up into little pieces, stealing. Look at history. Why the fuck do you want a prince? Why do you want a knight in shining armor?
Wear a pretty dress.
You can wear a pretty dress anyway. Do you know what I mean? It does not have to have been ripped from the back of another woman. If you made friends with that woman, she would make you a dress that will fit better than any dress any man will buy you.
Totally agree. Totally.
You know, look at the notion of true love. True love, if it's true, one or both of them dies. Or they live happy ever after. You're dead. Happy ever after means you're dead. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be a princess? Right? The number of little girls who write down they want to be a princess. What for?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What is it that being a princess is going to bring you that has any value to you as a person whatsoever? What is a princess? What does a princess do? Jack shit.
Exactly. Not allowed
right?
She's not allowed.
There's going to be a lot of beeps, isn't there, on this interview? You're going to be beep, beep. But I mean, but really, the first thing I would do to create my wonderful world would be to say that it is illegal to gender a child until they've chosen that they want to be sexual and who they want to be sexual with.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
No pink clothes, no fucking bikinis, no, sexy clothes on 2-year-olds, none of that shit.
Yeah, let them choose.
Yes. What do you want to do? What do you like? Right? Yeah, I don't want to do anything. There's always going to be people who don't want to do anything, and that is also fine. We are not here to be productive.
Yeah.
That is not our function.
Yeah,
our function is to play.
Box that we're supposed to tick either. Do you know? Like we don't.
Yeah, no boxes.
Actually choosing our sexuality or choosing this. It's like choose the ones as well that you want to tick.
Choose the people who give you that feeling. And it doesn't matter what they're dragging with them, what bits of body they're dragging with them, right? It's about the exchange that you make in the ways that you meet that person. Some people you meet with your mind, some people you meet with your words, some people you meet just with your energy, and some people you meet with your body.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true.
And if you're falling in love with genders, then actually, and look, if that's the primary, that a gender is what you seek when you look for love, you can't create happiness.
Yeah, because it's a barrier up straight away. Yeah, yeah. And that goes for race too. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So my partner's a scientist. And he says, and he always said from the very early, it's very funny. So, a radical black feminist working class originally with a white artist, with a white middle class scientist. We argue a lot. It's cool.
Sure.
But I remember one of the first things he said to me when I first met him, it was one of the things that just made me go like, oh, he's amazing. Was he said if aliens came here, the two things they would never use to classify people would be race or gender. He said, because they're both scales.
Yeah. Yes.
Both sliding scales. And I looked at him and I said, well, what could you use? He said, blood type.
Yeah.
Much clearer, definite. You know what I mean? Blood type. And I was a bit like, oh, he's smart, isn't he? Smart is sexy, man.
Sexy.
You know? And the other thing that he taught me is that talking about sex is sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean dirty talk, obviously. That's horny. I'm talking, you know.
I get it. Right now.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, as you say all this, it's like the spectrum of gender, the spectrum of race, moving.
Well, it's a spectrum of sex. Gender's a construct.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. Spectrum of sex, spectrum of race, and then being fluid by just meeting people with their minds, with their hearts, with their bodies. You're describing to me is what we keep coming back to in our spiritual path of the time of oneness, like moving beyond all the barriers, move beyond all the constructs, moving beyond even the pain of other people, moving beyond the judgments, moving beyond the labels, and trying to find that common connection, which is love. And then which brings us back to your original point. If you can't love yourself, then how can you move through all those other barriers? So
and that's not, yes, it's like, because you say getting beyond, and I think it's about the journey through.
beautiful. Yes, tell us more about
right. You know, I mean, life in itself is that destination. You do have to have your eye on where you're going, but actually it is about the journey. It's about moving, not getting beyond other people's pain, but being able to move through it with them.
Okay, yes.
Being able to move through it with your pain. And when you can hold your pain, you can allow others their pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't go beyond it, you go through it.
Yes. And I think that's really, sometimes we don't know how to do that. I don't know often, especially when we come back to the topic of race and the pain that some people have because of their race or whatever. It's been so, it's not an issue, let's not talk about it. That conversation or that journey through the pain, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm a therapist and I know how to hold space.
Breathe and cry.
Yeah.
Breathe and cry.
Yeah.
Right? Because we live in a society that denies us our tears. Right? The first time I went to stay in America, I was staying with a girlfriend and she stopped being friends with me because I cried.
Wow.
Because I cried, she had nothing but contempt for me, and all the help she said she would give me and all the contacts she wouldn't introduce. You know, she said, come over to the States. I know loads of people. I can really get you hooked up. You're going to be sorted. It's going to be fine. And on the first night I got there and I was a bit like, oh, wow, I'm in a completely new continent. This is a really scary place. I think I'm going to be all right. I'm not sure. You know, you feel those crystals forming?
Yeah.
So I was like, they need to go.
Yeah.
Right? So I cried. And her whole face changed, and I was a bit like, you know, that's her thing, you know. But afterwards, when we were like, you know, why do you it's like you hate me now, right? You're treating me now like you hate me. You know, you threw me out of your house. What is it? And she just said with such contempt, she said, you cried. I was like, wow, that's deep. No, like you're not allowed to self-heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to cry. Of course you want to cry because there's stuff happening and you need to be able to wash it away. You need to let it go instead of holding it in your body, right? You know, I have so many friends who have so many problems with tears. I'm at the point now because, you know, a bit of a crybaby. So I just cry. And Desmond Tutu said, I laugh easily, so I cry easily. And I was like, love you, Desmond. That's the one. You know, we need to cry. Men need to be able to cry. Boys need to be able to cry. Women need to allow themselves their tears for the little daily things.
Yeah.
And we need to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll get you through everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
No more is asked.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's so true.
Yeah. Right? Because what happens when you're like, I don't know what to do? I feel hopeless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cry for yourself.
Feel different afterwards. Yeah. I'm not saying you'll feel better, but you will feel differently. And that's the whole thing. It's about marking the changes. It's about holding the changes.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what do you feel as a society we're doing right to kind of move past these barriers between race?
Right.
Mm.
Is that your question?
Yeah, like
Nothing.
nothing. Okay, good. But tell me why.
Um, oof. Oh, let me start with children. We gender them, right? We force them into nuclear families. We force a system of learning on them that works for very, very few. We have identified at least 9 different types of intelligences, and we still only promote one of them or 2 in school.
Mm-hmm.
We inculcate, we embed in them the notion of competition as a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
And competition is just laying the foundations for creating war. Yeah, all competitive sport, all of it. Yeah, you know, taking children to football matches and the amount of abusive hatred that is normal. That's a football match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can say as much as you like, we're just focusing on the skills. We're just focusing on the skills. It's like, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it's about somebody for every and our winning society.
Yeah.
You know, 1 minute, one winner necessitates a minimum of what, 5 losers?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
what, or 2 losers, you know? For that one winner, you've created usually 150 utterly miserable people.
And that's happening all the time.
Every day, every minute, every minute of every school day. Right? This is how you have to be if you're a girl. This is how you have to be if you're a boy. This is what you're allowed to do. This is what we're going to look a bit sideways if you do. Right? You know, we put all of our children into this place where they have to form themselves into the perfect shape for a society that we already know doesn't work for any of us.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. So you're up to a revolution.
An evolution. You know, a revolution is revolving. It brings you back to the same point.
Yes. Yes. And then you're back there again, fighting for the same thing. Back there again.
Yeah. You know, because if I say, you know, people say, I don't want a matriarchy. You're always going on about the patriarchy. I'm like, yes, I do. I said, however, I'm not interested in a matriarchy either. I want a world that works matrilineally. And how that's worked out, I don't really care, and it's not my business to work it out because I'm not going to be there. But what I can tell you is that the core of how the society has to function is with the mother owning her body and her children, and not, you know, and that your children are, as they say, as Khalil Gibran said, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself.
Beautiful.
They come to you, but they are not for you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you.
So true. So true.
You know? And we all quote that and we all go, wouldn't it beautiful? And then we don't do it.
But it also reminds you that that's what we need to embrace with other people too, that whole feeling towards your friends, towards, you know, not just your children as well. because then people can be free to be who they need to be at any one time, do you know? Free to
Yeah.
compromise, free to be guided.
I think if just because your body can bear a child doesn't mean that you have to be a mother.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. Some women are mothers, but their bodies don't do it. Some women's bodies do it, but they're not mothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we live communally as women, everybody who wants to be gets to be a mother. And anybody who doesn't want to be doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
You know, like ideally, you know, it would have probably been best for me and my daughter if I could have had her passed her on to somebody else and just seen her, like, you know, every now and again.
Yeah. For her, for you, for the whole
Yeah. Yes. You know, I mean, we're working through it. It's getting better. But, you know, the vast majority of women whose bodies seem to do that, it's like it's this sort of, I feel a schism between what my body, the functions that my body can do, right? Where my head is and where my energy, say my life force energy.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
I can be motherly like about that much. And in that space and for that amount of time, I'm excellent. But it's like,
Excellent.
probably about 15 minutes a day. Probably like a total of 15 minutes a day.
Come on.
I'm better at cooking than I ever was at being a mother. Because I find it easier to invest that. I can cook for 2 hours. You know, I can make stuff for 2 hours, no problem, without thinking about it. But actually, you know, the effort and energy that children need, that, you know, and then brought up in a world where I was like, I need to have a child. I have to have a child. I have to have a child. The only thing that validates me being a woman is having a child. You know, like if I don't have a child, then, you know, then people will never believe anybody's ever fucked me, or do you know what I mean? It's like, this is my proof that I am an attractive woman who deserves to be in this society. You know, well, whatever, all of the other, you know, I don't even know. I'll tell you the one thing that I did know was that as soon as I was pregnant, I was like, this is not a good idea.
No.
Oh, fuck. Do you know what I mean? This is a process. Do you know what I mean? That, yeah. You know, choosing whether to have an abortion or not is not a choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Should be I mean, I'm pro abortion for sure. I should be like, if you want one, take it.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's not the man's choice. It's not the family's choice.
No.
Finally,
Yeah.
her body. And she's a sole person.
But actually, the vast majority of women, it's like, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. And it's like, but maybe that's not the time now for it to be doing this. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it really is okay. You know, and I met some women once and they told me that they were working on, because, you know, I sing. So they were working on, because they'd found texts or whatever, or somebody, I don't know where they came on the information, but they were convinced that at some point in our history, women could sing an unwanted birth away. That there were tones that you could use that would allow the womb to release the placenta.
Yes.
It feels right, doesn't it?
And that's the power of owning your body and owning life passing through you or not.
But when they said that, I was like, I believe that is in our power. I hear it, and my body knows it's true.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps all over me. And that's the power we have to.
Yes, but that you only find with women. I remember when I was in Australia, and it was really weird. So I'd had this, somebody said to me, do visualizations if you want to go somewhere. So I did this guided visualization, and I was swimming naked in a pool that was round. That was this amazing round pool. And then when I turned, I saw a woman walk past, small, short, dark hair, wearing shorts and boots and a backpack. And then I turned around in the pool and I saw a series of circular pools that went up. And when I was, I don't know, 25, I was in Australia walking out with a woman. She lives near the Blue Mountains. And we went to this place and she said, oh, you should really get in this water. It's the most amazing water. And it looked like a creek, you know? So in the end, I was like, yeah, all right. I don't have any swimming costumes. She said, don't worry, just get in naked, put your stuff out. Do you know what I mean? You'll be dry in 10 minutes. You can put your clothes back on again. I get into this pool that looks like just like a bit of a stream. And when I get into it, I realize it's man-made and it's round.
Wow.
Then she walks past the top of there and my heart starts going like this. And I turn around and there it is. These concentric circles that go up. And she took me up there and she said it was an Aboriginal birthing place.
Oh my God, beautiful.
And it starts, so you walk right up the top of the hill, but round, it's like this kind of shape, yeah? Like mounds on top of each other. And you walk around and there is a waterfall that comes out of the rocks at the top and goes through these kind of cave spaces. So getting bigger and bigger as you go down, this water goes through and there's kind of like round pools and sitting areas and like, so naturally, I don't know how much of it was naturally formed and how much they'd shaped it with, but you could see these pools and this water and this space that go down in like 4 layers into this way, and women gave birth in the water. So whenever you were on your period, and you know, it was just like, you know, and as I walked through it, I could see it. I could see all these women in there, all in their different stages of labor, or, you know, just, it was incredible. Magic. You know, so much has been, we have lost so much because we don't create community with each other.
Yeah, and we pass on that telepathic, psychic, spiritual magic that we are.
Yes, to our daughters, you know? And I really believe, you know, it's like, so when I talk to all my friends in happy relationships, when you talk to, you know, a happy relationship, as far as me and my friend have worked out, comes down to 4 words: happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. All the time. The whole world's problems right there.
Yes, yes, yeah, you know, and actually I think, you know, if we gave ourselves that space, most women are happier when they spend time actually with other women.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's a bit like my motherhood, you know, like I have a little bit more space for my partner, but it is, you know, it's a fairly limited amount of space where I can just be 100% in that space and be, you know, what he needs or what we need or what the relationship needs or blah, blah, blah. And then the rest of the time, it's like, it's not that I want to be on my own, but I would rather be on my own than, you know, when you're with groups of women, this is the thing, I guess, when you're with groups of women, you really do get space and time on your own.
Yeah, come back to you.
Yes.
Because they hold that field, don't they? They hold that field somehow. They hold that.
Yeah. 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 And I meet so many young women now who have never been in women-only space, guarded women-only space.
Yeah. It's the Islamic traditions where they had female weddings and the male, you know, in the weddings they separate gender. They've got male parts of the house, women's parts of the house, and there's something, as much as it's very foreign to me on some levels, you can feel the beauty in it. Do you know, there's something so beautiful.
You feel the solidity. You know, if you've ever spent time with Muslim women in women's space, you totally understand where they're like, Christianity, all of that, you know, there's nothing that you are offering us that is better than this.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You know? And whatever you think about Islam and all the rest of the other stuff and all the other structures, yeah, that space truly is sacred.
Yeah, I agree. I felt,
you know? Sacred women's space, and you're like, okay, all right, how do we deal with this one?
culture, they call it secret women's business. It's the women's business. Men don't know about the women's business here.
Yeah. Australia. Yeah. I spent a lot of time with the Currys.
Yeah.
Definitely. It is, yeah. But they were the ones that taught me. I mean, their whole thing was, it's like, and they made me laugh. So Nan said to me, she said, look, right, if you're really lucky, good sex can maybe last a couple of hours. She said, if you're really, really lucky, you can maybe have sex for a day or a couple of days. She said, but let's face it, mostly it's 10 minutes.
Real. Let me give it to you, real girl.
Right. So in those 10 minutes, a process can be set in motion. Right. But that process, that fertilizing of the egg, actually has nothing to do with the action that creates it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that egg becomes fertilized, and that which is the beginning of a process, a 40-week process. But actually, this 40-week process has nothing to do with that 10 minutes to 2 days. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. That 40-week process is a whole being experience. There is not a part of you that is not affected by those 40 weeks. Those 40 weeks set in flow another process, a completely different process, a completely physical process that also actually has very little to do with the 40 weeks that passed before. You can have a great pregnancy and a fabulous birth. You can have a horrible pregnancy and a horrible birth, or any combination. And it can take anything from 2 hours to 3 days, completely naturally. And the average weight of a baby is 5 to 9.5 pounds. The average weight. Right? Yes? So there's all of these things, these 3 processes that create this other person. And we live in a society that is trying to tell women that the most important part about that process is the person that you did the 10 minutes with at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. That is a bigger process going on. There's a process to focus on later.
Yeah. So we then want to be, because I've watched so many of I did my pregnancy on my own, which I would not recommend to anybody. It was fucking hideous, right? But watching my friends who were also pregnant around that time, totally distraught, demanding stuff from men who I just felt sorry for, because the men were like, what are they supposed to do? They've got no fucking idea. They're isolated with this creature that's changing from the woman they chose. Right? That's what it is. They choose a gorgeous woman and it metamorphosizes into a creature. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it.
I don't know what to do. Help me. You know? And yeah, and then you stick these 2 people into this process that's ultimately actually in lots of ways painful for both of them. You know, I admire the human spirit that turns it into a beautiful event, which a lot of people manage to do. But if you really look at it, then you can see this is not it.
Exactly.
This isn't it. You know?
Yeah, keep evolving.
And anything that drives, pushes, tries to form us, to make us fit into something, that there's no way that it can ever make it, and it's not even the herd mentality. If you could make 40% of people happy through this, you could maybe argue for it. Maybe. Yeah. But it definitely doesn't make half the people happy.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So all of those structures and forms that we have to fit into, sexism and racism are essential to keep them in stand, because those are the way that we keep each other from coming together. Right? Yes. So, you know, until you're prepared or until you're willing to even embrace the notion of a completely different society, then you're not really ready to deal with racism. And that's okay. But own it.
And
Own it.
own it.
Own it. You know? So, and own that what you're saying is, look, I find it horrible that you're in such pain, but actually your pain is necessary so that I think my life can have less.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay if that's what you believe.
Yeah. Say that one more time.
Okay. So, unless you are prepared to embrace, engage, conceive of, accept, or work for, completely changing all the structures in our society, you're not prepared to remove racism.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Because racism is a key component to keeping that in state.
Yeah.
This patrilineal, hierarchical world form.
Yeah.
You know, racism and sexism are essential, and capitalism in this form.
Yeah.
Right? So unless you're prepared to just, you know, okay, oof, you know, if you go, no, I don't want those to go, I don't want those to go, I don't want this to go, and that's okay. Own it. Right? I'm a racist, and I choose to be a racist because I would rather, as my daughter says, I would rather have the patriarchy than anything you can invent because it sounds scary. Right? Right, no, she says, you know, I know this, I know how to do it, I know how it functions, you know, I am familiar with this, you know, you're saying something, I don't even know what that is terrifying. I want patriarchy rather than that, because I'm so scared. I'm like, okay, babe, then we know where we stand. Yeah, I'm a racist because I really want the patriarchy and stand.
Yeah.
No? I'm an anti-racist. I do not want racism to continue. I have to find ways to take out the patriarchy. I have to find ways to undo that. I have to find ways to undo the patterns of norms within me. No, I don't want to do that. That's too scary. Then, okay, I'll be a racist. That's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah? Because, you know, yeah, being a racist is easier than challenging the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I don't judge you for.
But be honest, be real, and know it.
Yes.
Because only then you can actually realize, be conscious of A, why you're choosing it, B, why you're not choosing it, see what you can do to make a difference. And that's, you're bringing consciousness to everything then.
Yes. Yes.
Even just by the fact of you admitting, say, I'm a racist and I want the patriarchal system, as soon as you start becoming conscious of that, then you'll start to recognize how disadvantageous it is as well. Do you know?
Exactly.
So it says, actually a bit more like this, a bit more like that. And if we can all, then society shifts.
And that's what it takes. It's not about dealing with racism, right? Racism is not the issue. The patriarchy is the issue. Huh? Huh? You know, so there's only one thing that I really, you know, it's like, you know, you talk about love, and I always have issues with that, because I truly believe the energy of the heart is courage. You know, you can be as loving as you like, but if you are not courageous, there's no point.
Exactly.
You can't do anything with love without courage.
Exactly. Exactly. And courage is that fire that keeps burning, blazing a revolutionary, evolutionary path.
Yeah. You know, courage is, and unfortunately, you know, and this is part of it, you know, people get angry because of a sense of injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. But if you're not allowed to be angry,
mm-hmm.
then what they're saying is you don't have the right to recognize what is unjust.
Yeah.
Yes.
It explains the riots and the anger of, because that's an important part of the process of helping to shift this. Going through that. The anger.
Yeah. Yes.
Great.
I'm angry. I have a right to be angry. This is my anger. It's scary, man. Wow. But it's mine. Yeah. Look how big I am. And that's one of the reasons why I think lots and lots of white women are not allowed to be angry, because it makes you realize how immense you are. So white women are big. As soon as they are huge, they're bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Which is then again that whole notion of the angry black woman. So, you know, you talked about, you know, so for me, what I see is that lots and lots of black women crippled, because we're not brought up to eschew anger. You know, it's essential. Your anger is the only thing that's going to get you through the day. Yeah. So, but if you're angry, you're not acceptable in white world. Yeah. You need to be angry to get through the day, but if you're angry, you're not acceptable in white world. Right? So white women are as angry as black women, but you're not allowed to show your anger. Right? So you have to keep yourself small because your anger is so big. Because that's what anger is. Anger is big, big, big.
So confused and then anxious because you're like imploding inwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Because girls have to be small and petite and gorgeous, and anger is big. Yeah. Which is why men are allowed to be angry. Yeah. So, but you know, so you've got the angry black woman, and it's like, how can, and when you all take up so much room, how can you say you're oppressed?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I spend my life having to be small, having to pull myself in, having to, and then you walk into that room, you take all that fucking space, and you're gonna tell me that you're oppressed?
Yeah. 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 More anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, so that's you know, that's one of the mechanisms of racism in the patriarchy. You can do this.
Yeah.
And you have to do that.
Yeah. It's very
and then you set them against each other. You're allowed the exact opposites. I'm never allowed to be small and dainty and fragile.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Oof. Yeah. Wow. You know, and when you say all of this, when you go through saying, is it matrilineal, where both patriarchal and matriarchal can coexist and co-rule? When we're talking about moving through the spectrum of sexuality, we're moving through the sex spectrum of racism, becoming aware of our pains, becoming aware of being able to voice our angers, to recognize and own our stuff, and to breathe through things and to feel other stuff. We've got to go through a big cathartic process as a society, as a nation. I mean, it could take another 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, but we have to go through the cathartic process of changing the system on many levels. And it feels like maybe over the next couple of years, it's going to be intense. It's going to be intense.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because if it isn't, nothing's happening.
Yeah. We're back in a revolution cycle.
Yeah. You know, and the important thing is that it's not about what society does.
Yeah.
We can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
You know, it's about, you know, what can I do? I make sure that I try to have spaces at least every week where it's just me and at least one other woman. And I try to make sure that I do that. I make sure that I form relationships, regardless of what their mothers think, with young women, to be a bad example. I want to be the worst example that I can possibly be for every girl I meet. You know, and it's paid off. You know, when my friend's daughter called me yesterday and we spoken at the end of the conversation, she said to me, you know, I call you my auntie. Is that all right? I said, of course, my darling. I am so happy to be your auntie.
Yeah.
So happy, you know? Huh? Because I think that's the perfect female relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Guide, you can be, look, family.
Yeah, friend, you can be a bad example, you know? Yeah. And when you know, you can talk to me about your mum, you can moan about your mum. I love her dearly, but do you know what I mean? She's a pain in the ass. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Be real. Be really
Yeah.
reality. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I think that's important. I think that, you know, every woman needs to be a good, what do you call that? Not good, a revolutionary auntie. For every young woman needs to have 2 or 3 of them.
I love it. I'm getting goosebumps. A revolutionary auntie. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Most beautiful point to like close this on, because I don't think we can go any further than that. That is like is the role of every woman that she needs to take.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes.
Maxi, you are gold. You are a diamond gold stardust.
Thank you so much.
Mother, friend, guide, earth woman, seer, visionary. You know,
Thank you.
thank you for bringing your wisdom and your words and your life experience. You know, thank you for observing. You know, thank you for thinking. Thank you for delivering. I so absolutely appreciate
And Rakesh.
all of who you are. Thank you so much.